You're listening to ESOPOD, the Foliance ESOP podcast. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on ESOPOD. I'm Sean Hoy from Shared Services IT and the ESOP communication team at Foliance. And today I'm joined by Liz Kennedy. She is the Senior Product Manager and Audience Development. So did I get that right?
Yep. At the
Okay.
Gazette. Yep.
At the Gazette, yes. Liz, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. It's nice to see you, Sean.
So your title is kind of a mouthful. Can you explain what all does that mean?
Basically, I'm a technologist that works at the Gazette. So I work with both the web teams and the sales team as well as the newsroom. And so I have a really nice role in that I get to collaborate with a lot of different teams and different projects. And a product manager is someone who manages products. They can be physical or digital. Mine are all digital products. Except for, I guess, the Gazette store, which delivers physical products occasionally. And I work on those products to develop them and to grow them and figure out what audiences are right for those products. So it's kind of a job that folks aren't as familiar with. They hear product manager and they think project manager, and they do have a lot of the same kind of skill sets. A project manager, which I used to be a project manager, manages a task from start to finish and kind of figures out all the requirements and stuff like that. But a product manager is more forward thinking, and they think about what's going to be needed next year or the next phase of growth, or is this becoming a legacy product? And so what's the next phase of the product's life cycle? So they think in life cycle versus projects. It's a little different.
Okay. So you said you used to be a project manager, and what kind of background do you have maybe past that?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of different jobs over the years, but I've worked at the Gazette for 10 years. I started as a project manager at Fusion Farm, which was a marketing agency. So my background before that was nonprofit grant writer. I'd worked in music management. I'd worked in marketing, a lot of different marketing roles. But ultimately, I always worked with technology. And I also worked with folks that didn't understand technology. And so they liked every job I've had, people like to use me as a way to bridge the gap between technical knowledge and like lay person. Like, okay, tell me how a normal person understands this, I guess. So
Yes, I can relate very much. We have to do that constantly.
yeah, well, IT especially is not dumbing it down, but like giving an understanding for someone who doesn't deal with the technical aspects of something on a regular basis, and helping them achieve their goals.
So what kind of technical things are you trying to explain to people? Is it mostly for internal projects that you're trying to develop, and you're trying to explain things to our own fellow employee owners?
Sometimes it really depends. So one of the roles that I have is managing digital subscriptions for our Gazette customers. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is making sure that frequently asked questions by your subscribers are easy to understand. And so I'm kind of refactoring all that language into a simple FAQ, things like that, to help our customers get the most out of their subscriptions and really feel connected to our products. For internal teams, it's more like, okay, I try to give a big picture of like what the project is going to affect, and what, like if you want to achieve this goal, these are the different technical systems you might touch, and these are how they might affect you. I'll try to do a little translation for other key stakeholders in the project to help them understand. But
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're kind of on for the external folks. You're helping their experience be a better one.
Yeah.
And okay.
So there's a couple of things that are involved with product management usually, but with our small team at Gazette, we have a lot of folks touching on different disciplines all the time. And so one of the key buzzwords they say is customer experience, right? So what's the customer experience? And then in website land, it's user experience. What's the user experience? You could extrapolate that to what's the reader experience for a Gazette, So I kind of I don't I don't like to think of people as users. It just seems kind of like a negative term, like there's used stuff, but people interact with things on a regular basis with various things, and you really have to think um, very audience centric. And so that's one area of my role that I try to like implement. And the web team especially thinks about this all the time. Like, this isn't a very good reader experience, or this is not a very good user experience. Let's improve it. And so there's that kind of growth mindset at all times of like, okay, this is good, but let's make it better.
I wanted to touch on user experience. That's definitely one that IT has. I don't know if it's a problem necessarily. Like when I go to make a account for someone, it's a user account that's called
Hmm.
user,
Yeah.
and it's hard to when I go to talk to someone, I'm saying like the users, and that definitely has some different, like I feel like you could misinterpret that if you're not in the technical space for sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so I would just I like to add a label that maybe it'd be a little softer for the, like this is the, I don't know, this is the human experience. I don't know.
So I know the Gazette has been pushing pretty hard into the digital
Mhm.
space. How have you seen that transform in recent years?
Yeah, so we had some nice growth. We're probably going to be around 5.5% of digital growth over the last year in digital subscriptions. And obviously, we'd like to grow that even more. We'd like more people who engage with our content online to become subscribers and to really support the work and also get the benefits of the subscription, in that they can read more unlimited. They can get the daily edition online and really feel more connected, because we find that people who read regularly feel more connected to their community, and that builds a stronger community. So just kind of like the why of journalism
Hmm.
is just as important for digital as it is for print.
You said the 5% growth for digital. How is that compared to previous years?
Well, we started with nothing in 2018. So, I mean, we started from nowhere and have grown that over time. And I would say it was a good year. I wouldn't say it was a great year, but I'm excited for what as we move into 2025, what's in store for us for digital, because um, just with people's behavior, it's always a challenge to grow a digital audience, because there's social media that can take up their time, and a lot of people will say, well, I don't have time to read the paper. And it's like, well, you certainly have 4 hours to dedicate to TikTok. So I think maybe you might want to reorganize how you're spending your time. 10 minutes checking in with your community, even once a week, is going to be a good use of your time, I think, to see. There's so many stories um, around of what people are doing in our community, so much information that's being shared in the Gazette every day that can help people feel better about their community if they learned about it.
Do you think the Gazette reaches out to those different types of media, like TikTok or small video format? Is that in the Gazette's wheelhouse?
Yeah, so we have a digital, like a content producer, Bailey Chihan, who produces the Curious Iowa series that publishes on Monday in the Gazette. They do a lot of video and other features. We also have a lot of kind of maps and charts, I guess, kind of like more digital, um, like visuals that you can see online, that another producer on our team, John McLaughlin on the news side, produces, in addition to other folks on that contribute to those types of graphics that kind of help, not kind of like infographics, but also like kind of put things in context, which is what people are looking for. And organizing databases so that you can see public information in a way that's searchable, and you know all that public
Gotcha. More,
benefits.
more of that user experience, like making it nicer and easier to
Easier to
consume the information.
consume,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Curious Iowa, I definitely am interested in that. I watched the Iowa Ideas. There was a Curious Iowa
Mhm.
um,
Panel,
event
yeah.
about how like the history of Iowa and how it used to be all prairie, and that was really cool to hear about.
Yeah, and we've had some really fun ones over the years. It's funny too because someone recently asked in Curious Iowa, like they'd filled out a survey. You know, they have a little ask your question questionnaire, and someone filled it out and said, like, how do they clean the sewers? And we had actually done that was the first Curious Iowa was I think it was the first one where Bailey met with the city and followed the little um, automated camera. Well, it's not automated; it's manually driven by someone with a like a Xbox controller in the truck,
Cool.
and watched Eco. So it was kind of funny. Like, yeah, we answered that question. So it was kind of funny to see that one pop back up again.
So some of the things in your catalog of products, one that's relevant nowadays, or at least this time of year, is the holiday light finder. I think
Yes.
that's a really cool product. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, go to holidaylightfinder.com. And if you have a display that you'd like to upload or know of a good one, or just want to look for your map to holiday goodness over the holidays, because we do that, we'll go take a tour in the car at night to see all the lights. It's really fun. The teams had been producing that for years, and it's kind of become more cohesive with our other events. So, like, we kind of promote it with our Festival of Trees now, and we have a sponsor on there, and so it's kind of grown over the years. But it is actually a nationwide, actually international map because I think it maps to Canada too.
Wow.
And we'd worked with some other publishers occasionally who like to use the feature too, and they put it on their website. So it's kind of cool. We have a nice grouping of listings this year and a lot of folks participating, so it's been really fun.
It also sounds like you have some new stuff in the works. Want to talk about that
Yes. Yeah,
if you can?
so we're going to be launching Gazette local tickets next year. I'm really excited about it. We've had some good conversations with some local nonprofits who might be interested in using the tool. It's basically like an Eventbrite, but it's locally owned. So it's locally owned by the Gazette, and it's a really, really great ticketing product. So it has a lot of all the features that event organizers need, all that stuff that after the fact you're like, well, I really wish we could do this, and this product can do it. So we used it really effectively for Festival of Trees ticketing, and we're going to be using it for all of our internal product events next year, which are soon to be published on the site. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to gazettelocaltickets.com. But we're going to be rolling that out with other organizations this coming year. So that'll be a new and growth trajectory. And so part of that process is kind of interesting. So we met with a cross-functional team to develop the business plan for that. And we used like the business model canvas to come up with our business plan for it and identify opportunities. And that all came from the culture of Fusion Farm that I grew up with at the Gazette, which was kind of that startup culture. They had done a lot of 1 million cups, and they'd done a lot of startup weekends before I joined the organization. And then once I joined, it kind of influenced my understanding of how products can be developed. So,
Yeah, all of these kind of look like almost mini companies
yeah.
in their own right.
Yeah. I wish they brought in all the revenue that a mini company would, but that's what you need at a company. There's like a lot of different diverse opportunities to grow revenue and to really grow that bottom line when it comes to ESOP. So that's a goal.
One of the products I definitely use a lot is Hoopla Now.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Just try to find activities to do with kids
Uh-huh.
or family. That's pretty great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that team. So Hoopla Now will probably also go through some changes next year just to freshen it up, since it's one of those legacy products that's been around for a while. So you have to freshen those up occasionally, and because it may integrate more with the Gazette local tickets, we may do more with that connection there. So there's kind of some of those thoughts go on as like, okay, well, what existing products do we have, and how could they potentially integrate with this new one?
Yeah, it makes sense. Just use what you got, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's great. Um, So we've talked a lot about the external facing stuff. So you also manage the web development team
Mhm.
at the Gazette. Can you talk a little bit about that team and what they do?
Yeah, so really fantastic team of developers. It's Josh Libachuk, Eric Calder, and Pam Wyman. They've all worked at the Gazette for a long time as well, but people don't remember, they might not remember because they work remotely, 100% remote now. And so we have daily stand-ups and, we Zoom over we Zoom 15 minutes a day to just check in with each other. And so we have that daily connection. And then we also have other meetings where they might hop on. But really, really talented team of developers who produce everything from thegazette.com to Hoopla now, like you talked about, and also Corridor Careers, which is our job board that we maintain. And we go through a lot of times we meet as a team every month to go over, okay, what metrics did we hit this month and how can we improve this product? And those are really fun meetings because it's almost like a brainstorming session of like, okay, what are we doing next? And it keeps everybody engaged and excited about how we can improve that customer experience or user experience or human experience of our products.
So you act as a liaison between all the different parts of the Gazette and maybe even externally, and then the web development team that actually implements those projects and changes that you want to make reality.
Yeah. Yeah, and they do, and they do too. I mean, they do the same translation that IT does with folks and helping educate folks on for instance, if the newsroom wants to do something, a lot of times they'll coordinate with Eric to figure out how they can do it. And when it works perfectly, the team is brought in at the beginning of the project so they can kind of hear the context around what the goal is and what's involved, and then they can really offer great ideas and help collaborate. And I think that's one of those rules of agile that we follow. Agile we followed agile project management at Fusion Farm, so it was really good training to like understand that when you want, we just think about any project, who's ultimately going to help you complete that project and build that project. Involving them at the early stages of the project development is really key because they can give you clues of where you might run into roadblocks and solve those before you run into those roadblocks so you can have a smooth project experience. I don't know if you
Yeah,
ever find that in IT.
yeah, no, definitely. I feel like we run into potential issues or questions that probably could have been solved if we were involved sooner.
Mhm.
Definitely, that sounds exactly like what we wish would happen a lot of times. Or I definitely can tell when we are involved earlier, things tend to go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And
And sometimes it's just a matter of educating folks, like give them some case studies. Like here's how when you brought in the teams early on this, it benefited the project, and just keeping folks educated on how that can benefit them. What's in it for me is always a good place to start when you're talking with someone else. Um, and those learnings can go across. So like when we think about not just internal projects but external projects, sometimes bringing those key stakeholders in is really helpful. And one of the ways, like IO Ideas you mentioned, they do that. I'm aware of what the team does. um, they have these advisory boards that help build those panels well ahead of the conference, and they really really help them plan and manage that put that key conference together, because that is a huge undertaking, and I don't think we would have such success without those types of um, collaborative approach built into the early stages of the program. So
so we've talked a lot about what you do at the company. What do you like to do outside of work?
oh yeah, so I'm a classically trained and a musician, and I like to play Americana music with my spouse, and we've gotten more into recording this year, so that's been really fun. And also helping my kids learn a little bit about music. So that's kind of my main thing that I like to do outside of work. So yeah.
Awesome. What do you play? Like any specific instruments?
Yeah, I play the string bass. That was my classical background, and then I sing, and I have been working on guitar, and of course I play electric bass too. But I've also been playing a lot of piano this year, so that's been kind of fun. So just
Awesome.
yeah, I am not
I
very good at drums. It's one thing I'm not good at.
I know we have quite a few musically talented people at
Yeah,
Foliance.
it
Could
was a big
start a
draw.
band.
It was a big draw for me when I met people in my interviews at Fusion Farm. Was how many people played music or did art or like just were very creative, because I want to work with really creative people, and that's what's kept me here so long, is that the creativity that we have at the Gazette is just incredible.
Yeah, you kind of have to have creativity to be willing to change and try new things.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's one thing is like people like, oh well, I'm not very creative. I don't draw or write or anything. It's like, yeah, that's not the only version of creativity. I mean, using your creativity is just using your imagination. And if you can use your imagination, you are a creative person. And I would just challenge folks to push their own creativity, to innovate. When you come up with an interesting idea or cost savings for the company, that shows an incredible amount of creativity. And really, what creativity is all about is not limiting yourself to what's possible today. It's thinking about what's possible in my mind and how can I make that happen.
Yeah, Foliance encourages that for sure. We have the license to act that is
Mhm.
basically the real life physical version of what you just said. Like, yeah, use it and suggest changes, and yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the employee ownership vibe at the Gazette and at the different companies. We've had chances to, through application groups, meet with folks at Cimarron or Lifeline, mostly Lifeline for me. And it was always fun to learn about the manufacturing process and how they work creatively to solve issues and improve their bottom line.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to talk about while we're here?
No, I just think this is really cool. I love that the employee communication, or is it ESOP communications team, is trying things like this. And I would just encourage everyone, if you've never served on the communications team, to think about adding that to your resume at some point. I know I got to participate in the past, and it was really fun. Um, and that's what really makes working at an ESOP special, is that you can contribute in different ways and
Yeah, no, thanks for the free
share that
advertising.
employee ownership. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you and everyone has a good holiday season here coming up,
Yeah, you
and
too.
a
So it's
good
my pleasure.
next year. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, John.
All right. Thanks for listening to ESOPOD. If you want to get in touch, send me an email at esopod@foliance.com.